The untold truth about Rikers Island. The Island of Shadows. Hidden in plain sight, just off the shore of New York City, lies a place more feared than any prison in America. It's not a maximum security penitentiary like ADX Florence. It's not a historic fortress like Alcatraz. It is something far more sinister. An entire island that has become synonymous with violence, corruption, and despair. This is Rikers Island, the jail complex that holds the broken promises of America's justice system. For decades, New Yorkers have whispered about the horrors inside, stories of gangs running the cell blocks, guards looking the other way, and inmates dying in conditions so brutal they sparked national outrage. Tonight, we reveal the untold truth about Rikers Island, its violent history, its notorious inmates, and why, after years of scandal, the city has vowed to shut it down forever. Welcome to the Island of Shadows. The story of Rikers begins in the 1930s. At the time, New York's jails were overcrowded, filthy, and falling apart. City officials needed a new solution. They turned their eyes to a small, swampy patch of land in the East River, Rikers Island. Named after Abraham Rikers, a Dutch settler who owned the land in the 1600s, the island was once farmland, then a dumping ground for the city's trash. But in 1932, construction began on what would become the largest jail complex in the United States. The vision was bold. A sprawling network of facilities capable of holding thousands of detainees awaiting trial. But from the very beginning, the island carried a dark omen. Built on landfill and surrounded by water, it would become a place of isolation, where New Yorkers were sent and forgotten. By the 1950s, Rikers had grown into the centerpiece of New York's jail system. But behind the walls, conditions were already spiraling out of control. Inmates complained of overcrowding, abuse, and lack of medical care. Guards, many poorly trained and underpaid, used violence to maintain order. It was a powder keg waiting to explode. And explode it did. The second half of the 20th century brought waves of riots, corruption scandals, and horrifying deaths that cemented Rikers' reputation as one of the most dangerous jails in America. The 1970s and 1980s were a turning point. As crime skyrocketed in New York City, so did the jail population. Rikers, designed to hold around 5,000 inmates, soon swelled to over 20,000. Cells meant for one person now crammed in 3. Inmates slept on floors, stacked like forgotten cargo. Diseases spread, tempers flared. And the guards? Many were overwhelmed, some were corrupt, and others joined forces with gangs inside. The line between authority and inmate blurred. On Rikers, the strong ruled, and the weak were prey. Violence became the language of Rikers. Stabbings, beatings, and brawls were daily occurrences. Entire units fell under gang control. Guards often looked the other way, or in some cases, participated. One infamous example came in the 1990s, when a federal investigation uncovered a secret society of correction officers called the Program. These officers allegedly gave certain inmates free rein to brutalize others in exchange for keeping order. It was control through terror, and it left countless victims scarred or dead. By the 1990s, the crack epidemic had flooded New York streets, and Rikers became the dumping ground for the city's arrested. At its peak, the island held more than 20,000 detainees, more than some entire state prison systems. But unlike prisons, Rikers is primarily a jail. Most of its population consists of people awaiting trial, many who couldn't afford bail. Innocent until proven guilty, but locked in conditions that human rights groups compared to war zones. And for many, their time inside Rikers would change their lives forever. Perhaps no story captures the horror of Rikers better than Kalief Browder. In 2010, at just 16 years old, Browder was arrested for allegedly stealing a backpack. His family couldn't afford the $3,000 bail, So Kalief was sent to Rikers Island. He would spend 3 years there, 2 of them in solitary confinement, without ever being convicted of a crime. Inside, he was beaten by guards, attacked by inmates, and driven to the edge of despair. When his case was finally dismissed and he was released, Kalief came home broken. In 2015, at the age of 22, he took his own life. His story sparked outrage, leading politicians, activists, and celebrities like Jay-Z to demand the closure of Rikers. But Browder was not the first, and he would not be the last, to lose his life to the island. In the years that followed, Rikers became the center of a national debate on mass incarceration and jail reform. Federal monitors reported chaos, unchecked violence, inhumane solitary confinement, failing medical systems. Judges warned that if the city didn't act, control of the jail system might be taken away entirely. For New Yorkers, Rikers was no longer just a jail. It was a symbol of everything broken in America's criminal justice system. Today, Rikers still holds thousands of men and women. Its closure, promised by city officials, has been delayed again and again. For those trapped inside, every day is a fight for survival. The untold truth of Rikers is not just about one jail. It's about power, poverty, politics, and the human cost of neglect. And to understand how we got here, we must dive deeper into the stories that shaped its past.